Hello and welcome to this first lecture of a new section on measuring success and adapting the implementation of Agile HR. So, in this section, we will help you learn how to measure the success of the Agile HR implementation and adapt. And we will begin by taking a look at one of the strategy of using Agile retrospectives. So, to measure success of Agile HR implementation and adapt, you need to do basically two things. And first, as we were saying, was to conduct after each sprint and cycle HR retrospectives or Agile retrospective with HR teams to review what worked, what did not, and what can be improved. And then you use these insights to continuously enhance your processes. Second thing you can do is to track specific KPIs, metrics to measure the impact of Agile HR, such as employee engagement, recruitment speed, or employee satisfaction. And you can use these metrics to drive continuous improvement. So these are the two key ways. Now the question is, how can you use Agile retrospectives to continuously enhance processes? While we have talked about it, but let's talk in general about the whole Agile HR implementation. So Agile retrospectives are a key tool in continuous improvement cycle of the Agile methodology, as we have learned so far. They provide the teams with a structured space, a time and space which is structured to reflect on the key processes or their processes, identify areas of improvement, and plan actionable steps to enhance the performance. Now, how can you use these agile retrospective to continuously enhance HR or even organizational processes? Let's take a look at that. So first thing is to set a regular sequence or cadence or schedule of retrospectives. Hold retrospectives at the end of each sprint or project cycle and to basically encourage continuous reflection and improvement. Schedule at in regular interval retrospectives, and these regular intervals could be bi-weekly, monthly, or after major milestones, right? And with these regular intervals, you can create a habit of reflection and iteration. That is most important. Reflect and iterate. Ensure all relevant stakeholders participate. You could say, for example, after completing a recruitment cycle or an HR project, gather a team of for a retrospective to review what worked and what did not and what could be improved. So like this, you set up a regular cadence for retrospectives. Then foster a culture of psychological safety where members feel comfortable sharing honest feedback without fear of judgment. Fear of judgment is the biggest hurdle in people opening up to you. Emphasize that retrospectives are a no blame environment focused on improvement, not fault finding. Encourage participation by making it clear that all feedback, positive or negative, is valuable. You could start each retrospective by reminding the team that the purpose is to learn and grow and not to assign blame. And further, you could use tools like anonymous feedback if necessary to ensure everyone's voice is heard. So that's how you can create a safe, open environment for feedback. Use a clear structure of for retrospectives to keep discussion focused and productive. You could follow what went well, what did not go well, what can be improved framework to guide the conversation. You could also add prompts like what did we learn and what surprised us to spark deeper thinking. You could, for example, in an HR context, might ask what aspects of the hiring process work well and what obstacles did we encounter during an onboarding process, and then discuss improvements. So these retrospectives are basically the structure is to generate more effective discussion. Ensure that each retrospective ends with a concrete actionable step or steps that can be taken to improve the process. After identifying actions for improvement, work with the team to create a plan as you see here as an example of what changes will be made, who will take responsibility, and by when these changes will be implemented. Limit these actions to 2 to 3 key areas to avoid overload and make them manageable. For example, if the team identifies that response times during recruitment were too slow, assign someone to streamline the interview scheduling process within the next sprint. So identify actionable takeaways and assign responsibility and timings. Prioritize continuous improvement. Treat retrospective as a part of an ongoing process of evolution and improvement, not as a one-time event. Revisit the outcomes of the previous retrospectives to track progress on improvement, ensure that lessons learned are actually implemented in subsequent cycles, and reflect on whether the changes had the desired impact. So, reflect, learn, do, and reflect again would be the cycle. As an example, in the next retrospective, revisit in your next retrospective, you could revisit the previous session's action items and discuss. Did the changes to the interview process lead to faster hiring times? And if the answer is yes, scale the change. If not, iterate again. So that's how you do make continuous improvement prioritized. Incorporate data to make retrospective more objective and grounded in measurable results. Collect relevant data like time to hire, employee satisfaction scores, productivity rates to discuss during the retrospectives, and this will help the teams identify bottlenecks or inefficiencies more clearly. If you are running an HR process retrospective, you could track metrics like number of candidate source, interview to offer ratios, and employee turnover rates, and then use this data to fuel discussions on process changes. So that's how you can use data and metrics to make to do informed retrospectives. Encourage experimentation and try new ideas. Promote a mindset of experimentation by testing new approaches based on the insights from retrospective. So use retrospectives to generate insights, test new approaches, and keep experimenting. After each retrospective, identify 1 or 2 new strategies or ideas to experiment within the next sprint. Focus is on within the next sprint. Encourage teams to be innovative, knowing that failure is an opportunity for learning. For example, after a retrospective reveals delays in approval processes, try a decentralized decision-making pilot for one team in the next sprint to see if it improves speed without sacrificing the quality. Record key takeaways from each retrospective and share them with relevant stakeholders for broader organization learning. You can use for that a retrospect board for that, shared document or internal communication tools to document what was discussed and what actions were to be taken or were taken. Ensure transparency so that other teams or departments can also benefit from these insights. You could, for example, document lessons learned from improving the performance review process in one team and then share that with other HR teams across departments to promote continuous improvement organization-wide. So that's how you can document and share them. Encourage different team members to take turns facilitating retrospectives to bring diverse perspective. So rotate retrospective facilitation, and that will help you keep the sessions fresh. You could assign a rotating facilitator for each retrospective, allowing each team members to contribute in guiding the discussion. Use facilitation techniques like brainstorming, mind mapping, or even fun icebreakers to spark creativity. For example, let an HR specialist facilitate one session while the team lead or a project manager lead another. And this will ensure varied viewpoints are brought forward and prevent stagnation. Close the feedback loop, review the past retrospective regularly to ensure that the improvements are being implemented, because that's the ultimate purpose and the goals are being met. Dedicate time in each retrospective to follow up on the previous session's action item. Don't rush it through. Did the changes happen? Were they effective? If not, why not? Adjust strategies as needed based on what was learned. You could, if one retrospective focused on shortening the time to provide feedback after interviews, you could in the next retrospective include a review of whether these steps were successfully implemented and what impact did they have. So close the feedback loop, important thing. Celebrate successes and failure and progresses, both, all three. If there are failures with learning, celebrate them as well. Acknowledge and celebrate wins to keep the teams motivated and invest in continuous improvement. During the retrospectives, highlight areas where the teams have successfully implemented improvement and achieved positive outcomes. Recognize the effort of individuals and teams who contributed to these successes. If a change in onboarding process, for example, led to a higher new hire satisfaction. Higher means better, new hire satisfaction scores. Celebrate that win in the retrospective. This keeps the team motivated to continue refining and improving processes. Modify the retrospective process itself based on the team's need to make it more effective over time. Solicit feedback on the format of retrospectives to ensure it remains engaging and useful. If the team finds current formats stale or too repetitive, experiment with different structures such as lean, coffee, start, stop, continue, or use collaborative tools like Miro. Nothing is sacrosanct. Keep experimenting. One sprint you might use the classic what went well, what did approach, and the next one you could try sailboat retrospective to identify obstacles and opportunity and go find out what that sailboat is. So to summarize, Agile retrospective can be a powerful tool for continuous improvement when they are used effectively. By regularly reflecting, collecting feedback, fostering a safe environment, and prioritize actionable takeaways, you can empower teams to continuously refine and enhance their processes. When retrospectives are implemented thoughtfully, they become an integral part of organizations' learning culture, driving innovation, efficiency, and adaptability. So what do we do next? We will look at another second strategy of measuring success and adapting, which is of tracking metrics other than agile retrospectives or in addition to agile retrospectives. So thank you so much for watching this first lecture on measuring success and adapting in implementing agile HR. I hope you continue to learn new things, continuing to enjoy. And I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture. Please feel free to message me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer your questions, and do download the PDF file to take a look at anything that you want to.